Levi. The devil. You know the blade found its mark with surgical precision, slicing through the nape of the 15-meter Titan's neck in a spray of crimson steam. Captain Levi Ackerman landed gracefully on the cobblestone below, his steel-gray eyes already scanning for the next target. What he found instead made his blood run cold. There, emerging from the dissipating corpse of the Titan he just killed, was a face he recognized. A face that had haunted his dreams for months. Not because of fear, but because of the questions it raised. Questions that could shatter everything he thought he knew about this war. "Impossible," he whispered, his grip tightening on his bloodied blades. The woman's eyes fluttered open, meeting his gaze with a mixture of defiance and something else. Something that looked almost like relief. Steam rose from her naked form as she struggled to sit up, her blonde hair matted with the Titan's bodily fluids. This was supposed to be just another mindless beast, another monster to eliminate for humanity's survival. But Annie Leonhart was no mindless beast. "Hello, Captain," she said, her voice hoarse but steady. "I suppose there's no point in pretending anymore." Levi's mind raced, connecting dots he'd refused to see before. The female Titan's unusual intelligence, its selective killing, the way it had seemed to recognize him during their encounters. Every battle, every near-death experience, every moment he'd stared into those eerily familiar eyes. It had all been leading to this revelation. How long? The question escaped his lips before he could stop it. Annie smiled, a bitter expression that didn't reach her eyes. "Since the beginning, since Shiganshina, since your first expedition outside the walls." She paused, studying his face. "Since the day you became humanity's strongest soldier." The admission hit him like a physical blow. Years of fighting, years of losing comrades, years of believing he was protecting humanity from an external threat. And she had been there all along, watching, learning, killing his people while wearing the face of their salvation. "You were there," he said, his voice barely above a whisper. "When we lost Petra, when we lost everyone. I was." No apology, no justification, just cold, hard truth. Levi's blades trembled in his hands. Every instinct screamed at him to end this, to drive steel through her heart and finish what should have been finished long ago. But something held him back, something in her eyes that spoke of secrets deeper than betrayal, of truths that could change everything. Why? The word came out strangled, heavy with the weight of every fallen comrade. Annie's expression softened almost imperceptibly. "Because the devil I know is better than the devil I don't." She gestured weakly at the destruction around them. The burning buildings, the screaming civilians, the chaos that had become their reality. "Did you ever wonder why some Titans are different, Levi? Why some of us retain our humanity while others lose themselves completely?" "Some of us." The words hung in the air like a death sentence. "There are others," he said. It wasn't a question. "More than you know. More than you want to know." Annie struggled to her feet, steam still rising from her regenerating wounds. "But that's not the real question you should be asking." Levi's patience snapped. In one fluid motion, he crossed the distance between them, pressing his blade to her throat. The edge drew a thin line of blood, but Annie didn't flinch. "Then what's the real question?" he hissed. She looked directly into his eyes, and for the first time since he'd known her, he saw genuine fear there. Not fear of death, fear of truth. "The real question is whether you're ready to learn that everything you've been fighting for is a lie." The world seemed to tilt on its axis. Levi had faced countless Titans, survived impossible odds, watched his friends die in his arms. But nothing had prepared him for this moment. The certainty he'd built his life on, the clear line between human and monster, was crumbling beneath his feet. "Explain." His voice was deadly quiet. Annie's laugh was hollow. "The walls, Levi. The walls that protect humanity. Do you know what they're really made of?" His grip on the blade tightened, drawing more blood. "Stone and prayers, like everything else in this damned world. Titans." The word fell like a stone into still water. sending ripples through everything he thought he understood. The walls are made of titans, millions of them, standing shoulder to shoulder, waiting. And when they wake up, she didn't need to finish. The implication was clear enough to make his stomach turn. You're lying. Am I? Annie tilted her head, pressing her throat harder against his blade. Think about it, Captain. Have you ever wondered why the walls have stood for 100 years without maintenance? Why they're exactly 60 meters high, the same height as the colossal Titan? Why your precious government is so secretive about their construction? Each word was another crack in the foundation of his beliefs. Levi had always suspected the government was hiding something, but this was beyond his worst nightmares. Even if that's true, he said, his voice shaking with barely contained rage. It doesn't justify what you've done. The people you've killed. We're going to die anyway. Annie's interruption cut through him like ice. Everyone inside these walls is going to die, Levi. The only question is whether it happens in a year or in a decade, whether it's quick or slow, whether humanity has a chance to fight back or simply ends. The blade at her throat began to shake. Not from fear, but from the terrible weight of possibility. What if she was telling the truth? What if everything he'd sacrificed, everything he'd fought for, was built on a foundation of lies? There's more, Annie whispered, her eyes never leaving his. About your bloodline. About why you're so much stronger than everyone else. About what the Ackerman name really means. Levi's world tilted again. His family name. The one thing he'd never questioned. The one piece of his identity that had always been constant. She was threatening to take that away, too. The government has been hunting your kind for generations, she continued. Not to eliminate you, but to control you. To turn you into weapons. Did you never wonder why you're the only one left? The question hit him like a physical blow. He had wondered, in the dark hours of sleepless nights, why fate had left him alone. Why he was the last of his line. The only one with the name Ackerman still breathing. They killed them all, Annie said softly. Everyone who carried your blood. Everyone except you. And do you know why they kept you alive? Levi couldn't speak, couldn't breathe. The world was spinning too fast, reality fracturing into pieces he couldn't put back together. Because they needed their perfect weapon, their loyal dog, their devil. The blade fell from his trembling fingers, clattering on the cobblestones between them. Annie stepped back, rubbing her throat where blood still trickled from the cut he'd made. The choice is yours now, Captain, she said, her voice carrying the weight of prophecy. You can kill me and continue living the lie. Continue being their weapon until the day the walls fall and everyone you've ever cared about dies screaming, or... She extended her hand toward him, palm up, offering something he couldn't name. Or you can help me save what's left of humanity, even if it means becoming the very thing you've spent your life fighting against. The silence stretched between them, heavy with possibility and dread. In the distance, another Titan's roar echoed through the city, a reminder that this moment of truth existed in the middle of an ongoing nightmare. Levi stared at her outstretched hand, knowing that whatever choice he made would change everything. The devil he knew was offering him a chance to become something else entirely, something that might save humanity, or damn it forever. The question was, which devil was he willing to be?